Hey everybody, it's Molly Gebler, and we have another episode of Checking In with the Chamber, and we are checking in with Don, and Don is with Hopewell. Don, what is Hopewell?
Hopewell is a therapeutic residential farm community for people with serious mental illness. We're kind of an unusual chamber member because our fundraising office, which I manage, is here in Chagrin Falls, but the farm itself is out in Mesopotamia, right in the middle of Amish country. It's a beautiful 325-acre farm, just east, northeast of Middlefield. We're kind of unique in the country. We're one of only 5 such farms in the country that help people with mental illness. There's one in Massachusetts, I think one in North Carolina, one in Vermont, and the 4th one is up in Michigan. But it's kind of a novel concept in helping people with mental illness. We were started by a woman by the name of Clara Rankin, which is a name which is probably familiar with a number of people. Back in 1993, she had the idea of creating a farm like Hopewell here in Northeast Ohio because she had a need in her own family and she was looking for options. And she learned about Rose Hill Farm, which I believe is in Michigan, and Gould Farm, which is in Massachusetts. And she thought that it would be great to start one here. So literally by force of will and reaching out to her friends and raising money, she managed to acquire the Hopewell property, which used to be a bed and breakfast after it was a working farm. And in 1996, I believe, we admitted our first resident. So next year we'll be officially celebrating our 25th anniversary, which is kind of exciting.
Wow. I got to break all that down. I mean, just the fact that one person had a need and did something about it, I find so impressive.
It's amazing, and Clara is amazing. Clara turned 103 in May. Wow. And she is still very active with the organization. She's a life member of our board of directors, very actively engaged. I meet with her, talk with her regularly. But if you think about it, she started this organization when she was in her 80s. So to have the interest in doing something like this and creating an organization, which is now a nearly $5 million organization and treating nearly 100 people a year, it's pretty incredible.
And that just is a reminder to all of us that, your life isn't done until it's done.
Yep.
And God's going to take, not to get religious, but God's going to take you when you have completed what your mission is. And I mean, look at 80 years old and she's did amazing things. Yeah. And I have chills just about that. So
she's an inspiration. She really is.
Crazy. So she needs to get on Zoom and talk to other people about, fulfilling your mission, your story. So people live there.
They do. It's a residential facility.
Okay.
They're typically people with a primary diagnosis of schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, bipolar, major depression. We have some residents with autism. We're not a drug treatment facility. We're not a detox facility. We're not licensed for that, but we do have residents that have substance abuse histories. We don't treat somebody who's actively using, for example, but we do have residents that have had that history. But the power of the place really is there's a lot of research that demonstrates that the power of nature is very impactful for people with mental illness and really helps them to, you see the background behind me is a photograph. We've got a beautiful pond on the property, and you're looking sort of northeast at our maple forest. We've just got an amazing facility. But
are they being treated?
They are. So we have what we call our healing model, which kind of combines the power of nature with meaningful work. They work on the farm. It's a working farm. At one point, they were producing as much as 70% of the food that the residents and staff consumed at the farm.
Wow.
We have a herd of cows, we have goats, we have chickens, we have horses, we have pigs, and the residents all take care of the animals. We have a strong art therapy program and a wood shop. with arts and crafts that are sold in arts fairs throughout the region. I think they did Art by the Falls last year here in Chagrin. And again, about a third of the property is the maple forest that you see behind me. And we actually have a sugar house on site where we produce maple syrup. In fact, at one point we were producing, if you went to Yours Truly and you ordered pure real maple syrup to go on your pancakes, it came in a little bottle that had a Hopewell sticker on it. We were supplying them with all their maple syrup. But as they continue to grow as a business, it kind of went beyond our capacity to continue to supply.
You couldn't keep up.
We couldn't keep up. So I don't think we're doing that anymore. But it's but they also receive very strong clinical support. We have fantastic clinical staff. I can't say enough about these people. There's individual and group counseling. We help residents manage their medication. But the whole goal is to get them. I kind of think of Hopewell as kind of a halfway point between people who have a serious mental problem that requires them to be institutionalized and being able to live independently. Our whole goal is to help them develop the confidence and the skills that they need to ultimately live either quasi-independently or independently, or go back and live with their family, which a lot of our residents do as well.
I was going to say that the projects that you're mentioning that they take part in has to be building that self-esteem and making them feel that they are worthy. It's got to be so healthy for them to be on that farm and doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
You know, and everybody comes, even if you have two people who each have a diagnosis of, say, bipolar disorder, they come from very different backgrounds and they have very different experiences with the illness. And so we have to really have an individualized treatment plan for each person. And they can take part in a variety of activities, but the goal, again, is to get them to a point where they can be discharged. The average length of stay at Hopewell, we suggest a minimum of 4 months. The average length of stay is anywhere from 6 to 9 months, although we do have a very small number of long-term residents who have been with us for quite a while and expect that they'll be with us for quite a while. But we're not really a group home. Our intention is to get people to a point where they can be discharged and live independently. In fact, one of the new projects we're working on right now is a special, what we call a transition program, where after residents are discharged from Hopewell, we're working in partnership with University Circle, Inc. to acquire some apartments down there at the Circle that residents will be able to transition from the farm to an apartment and still interact with clinical staff down there, but also have all kinds of opportunities, all the opportunities that are available at University Circle, the cultural amenities, transportation, access to employment and volunteer opportunities. We're still in discussions about that and planning for it, and we're hoping to launch that sometime this fall, but we're very excited about it.
And are their expenses covered, or are they working for their stay, or do they pay?
It's not like a work study scenario. It is a private pay facility. The unfortunate thing is that insurance typically does not pay, like Medicaid, for example, does not pay for residential treatment. They just won't. They don't do it. And because our program is a volunteer program, and we can't have a very specific regimen of treatment. It's all very individualized. It depends on what the resident needs that particular day. Whereas most insurance companies require you to say, well, at such and such a time, the resident did this, and so on and so forth. We can't do that because it's not structured that way. But what we do, and what I do on a daily basis, is raise money to help reduce the cost to residents. We're still relatively inexpensive compared to, say, institutional care. We're about a third of the cost of being in a hospital or an institution of that kind. And the money that we raise helps us to reduce the fees for residents based on what their financial needs are.
You can't even compare, and I'm not saying that the hospitals are not doing good I'm not saying that at all, but I mean, you can't even, if you're saying it might be less and then you're living out in nature in that beautiful, scene behind you.
Yeah.
Gosh, it sounds just wonderful.
Let me take you on a quick tour. I've got some pictures I can show you.
Yes.
I'm going to change my background here a little bit and show you some photographs from the farm, because there's really nothing like actually seeing the place. This building behind me is the conservatory. It's where we have a number of activities. The house that you see to the left or the right, I can't tell which perspective you're seeing it, is actually a greenhouse where we seed a lot of the plants and vegetables and things that are ultimately planted in the garden and grown. The other side has also a greenhouse, but it's a contemplative garden where residents can go and sit. It's got a beautiful fountain. We've got a nice meeting space in that building. That's one of our newer buildings, and it was funded by the Cutler family. This is
as in crew.
Yes.
Okay, good for them.
This is one of our residential cottages. You can see this is sort of the exterior of the building. We have 2 of these plus our main house, which houses about a dozen residents each. And then this is the you can see the interior here. Kind of moving around so you can see it. It's very nice. Each one has a fireplace and musical instruments and whatnot, and the residents really enjoy.
Do they all have their separate room, and then there's like a common area and kitchen?
Everyone has a separate room. There are bathrooms, and some are shared. And then we have the common room areas. And then the main house houses residential rooms, as well as our kitchens and dining room, and some our executive offices and administrative offices and meeting space. This is a fun photograph of, I think this is, it's hard to tell with the hair in her face, but this is, I think, one of our interns from last year working with our goats in the stable, feeding them. And I can show you.
So your residents also take care of the animals?
They take care of the animals. We have several horses. They're miniature horses. We had large draft horses that we used in the maple sugar process and collecting the sap and so forth, but the residents were a little intimidated by them. So we got these miniature horses. So it's not a horseback riding program, but they do, take care of the horses and muck out the stalls and all that stuff. And they find that they bond with the horses. This is a room that I'm particularly proud of because we raised some money about 1.5 to 2 years ago to renovate it. This is our art studio. It's in the basement of one of our residential cottages, and we got all new tables and chairs and repainted the place and restructured it for different activities. And this is one of our most widely used facilities on the farm. You can choose to either do a work crew and go and work on the farm, or you can come down here and you can create. And the art that these residents produce is just incredible. Jewelry, painting, sculpture. We have, you can't see it here, but we have a pottery studio with 5 or 6 wheels and a couple of kilns. It's just it's a really popular space, and the residents really enjoy that as an activity. I think I've got one more picture that I can show you. This is I think a fall shot of the farm in general. You can see sort of in the background our we've got a nice picnic pavilion just past the pond. To the left of that is our sugar house, which you can't really see, and then one of the residential cottages over here on my off my right shoulder. So it's just a beautiful place.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Do you make your way there?
I do. I typically, with the COVID situation, we're kind of on a lockdown, and we're not allowing visitors and so forth. But I do get out there, 3 or 4 times a month. We have a monthly leadership team meeting that I participate in, and then I love to take people on tours. I'm out there as often as I can, because there's, I can sit and talk to a donor about how effective our program is, but there really is nothing like seeing the place. And once they come out, they just can't believe how beautiful it is, how quiet and restful and peaceful it is, and how active it is. How, seeing the residents working in the art studio, for example, is a lot of fun. Recently the residents have been doing bonfires out by the picnic pavilion and little picnics out there. It's just, and we also have, there's a building I don't have a picture of at the moment, but we also built a brand new building this past year. It's an 8,500 square foot activity center with a half gym and a big education room that we were able to create to give residents a place to exercise and do activities and group and individual counseling and so forth during the winter, because when the snow's on the ground, it's a little hard to get outside and exercise and do that sort of thing. So we now have a 24/7 year-round space that people can do that. And it also provides us with a big enough space that the entire community can come together as a group. They did a sock hop a few weeks ago in there, decorated the place with balloons and everything. It was just a lot of fun to watch. So
and how are they dealing with not being able to have maybe a family member or something during this COVID?
It's been challenging. That's probably the biggest aspect of it. We do encourage visitation. We've got an apartment on site where resident families can stay if they want to stay overnight or for a day or two to visit their family members. It has been challenging, but I have to say, they've proved remarkably resilient. I mean, they understand the situation, and our staff, again, I can't say enough about our clinical team. We've just got an amazing group of people, not only our licensed clinicians, but our program facilitators who help residents on a day-to-day basis with activities, have just done a great job of helping them get through this. And you know, the pandemic has impacted us financially too. We stopped admitting people for a period of time, about 2 to 3 months, but we were still discharging people during that time. So we're down a little bit in terms of the number of residents that we serve. So that had an impact on us. We also had to cancel our annual benefit, which we do every summer. It's called the summer solstice at an estate here in Hunting Valley. It's usually a very popular event. Couldn't do it this year. We've been able to raise some additional money for that. So it has been challenging, but you know, compared to a lot of organizations that I'm in touch with on a regular basis out there in the community, we're doing pretty well. I feel very blessed.
And are you currently taking residents?
We are. As of a couple of weeks ago, in fact, we reopened our admission procedures. And the way we did that is that we established a protocol so when we have a new resident who wants to come to the farm, they come with a family member, they stay in our visitor apartment, what we call the depot, and they stay there for 2 weeks. They quarantine there for 2 weeks. They bring all their own food and everything they need. And we've expanded our telehealth capability on the farm so that we can interact with them clinically via the internet and via computers, and provide what they need while they're quarantining. And once we're sure that they're free of the virus, then they enter the community. And I should mention that the community is really the important part of what we do. It's not just the work, nature, and so forth. It's being part of a therapeutic, supportive community of people, all of whom are dealing with somewhat similar issues, and knowing that you have that support and have the staff and have the clinical support as well. It really is a powerful treatment model, and it's very effective.
And how is this now you have to quarantine someone for 2 weeks? How is that going? Because like you're saying, that community piece is so important, and they're being isolated for 2 weeks.
Well, they do it with a family member, so they're not alone, and they have interaction with the clinical staff again through the online and so forth. And then it's only once that 2 week period is over, then they can enter the community. And we've got a whole orientation program, a lot of which is on our website, by the way. It's hopewellcommunity.org. There's a lot more information there and lots of videos about how we do this and what we do. And it's turned out to be very effective. I think we've admitted, don't quote me on this, but I think we've admitted 2 residents in the last couple of weeks, and we've got a list of people waiting to join. So we're very fortunate.
And you probably have to slow that down because you've got only so many spaces for people to quarantine for the 2 weeks.
Yes, although people can quarantine if they live in the region, in Northeast Ohio, they can choose to quarantine at home. And they can also quarantine in, like if they're from out of the area, we've had people express their interest in doing it like at a hotel situation or something like that. So there are ways that we work around it.
And are they volunteering to come, or is this something where, because they're adults,
right?
Or is this something where a mother or a wife or something encourages them to?
Well, that happens, of course. And we also get referrals from clinicians. When someone is ready to be discharged from an institution, we might get a referral from someone who says, "Hey, I've got a resident who might be appropriate for what you do." And then we look at them and put them through our admissions process. But it is a voluntary program. And even the work program on the farm, you can't force people, you can't require people to do work, but we encourage them, and it's all part of their treatment plan. I mean, it's something that if they don't participate, if they stay isolated in their rooms, if they don't engage in the community, after a certain period of time, we might say, listen, this probably isn't going to be an effective method of treatment for you, and you probably ought to consider another alternative. But by and large, again, our clinicians are fantastic, and they do a great job encouraging residents to get out and participate in the community. And those that do find it very, very effective.
Such amazing, amazing work. I mean, and just the you have no idea. Obviously, you're treating somebody right then and there, but you have no idea what that person then will go on to do, and the ripple effect just because of the kindness and treatment that you guys gave that individual. That's
I
so
really
amazing.
encourage people to look at our website, because it has a number of testimonials from residents who have gone on and done amazing things, from getting their college degree, getting married, starting a family, entering the workforce. It's just very inspiring. We feature a resident story on the cover of each of our newsletters that comes out quarterly, because it's just so inspiring to read how, and each year at our summer solstice benefit, we also typically have a resident or a family member speak to the group and say, listen, this is, because of your generosity, this is possible for me to do all these amazing things. We even had one resident, our solstice speaker last year, had written a song about Hopewell, and he sang it for the group, and how effective it was for him. It was very, very moving. All that stuff is on our website, so I encourage people to go and take a look.
And remind everybody where that is again.
It's hopewellcommunity.org. And if people are interested in information about and talking to our admissions personnel, our number is 440-426-2000. And if they're interested in taking a tour, we are allowing people to come to the farm on a limited basis for tours, as long as they're willing to, wear masks and do all the, social distance and do all the things that are recommended. They can call me at our Chagrin office, which is 440-247-0912, and I'd be happy to take you out. It's just a very inspiring place.
I would love to take a tour out there for sure and check it out soon. Well, thank you so much for spending time and sharing all the beautiful pictures, and I encourage everyone to go check them out online. I'm hoping or assuming there might be a donate button online as well.
There is,
Okay.
absolutely, and just lots of information about what we do and how we do it is there. So it's a great website. I encourage people to take a look.
Excellent. Go check it out. Well, thank you so much, John, for
Thank you.
spending the day with me.
Oh, you bet. I appreciate the time.
We will talk soon. Thank you so much.
Very good. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.